Welcome back, everybody, to Beyond the Box. I'm your host, Mike McAra, and today I'm thrilled to be joined by CEO and founder of Certn, Evan Dalton. Evan, welcome to the show.
Hey, Mike. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be on.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm pumped because I've been trying to talk to you about Certn for like a year and a half, and you're just crushing it and so busy that we finally got time. So I'm like really pumped about today. So if people haven't heard about Certn, like what are you guys doing? What's keeping you busy?
For sure. Well, yeah, Certn is a people data company. So we help customers understand who they're bringing into their business, whether that's through tenancy, so the people that are renting units from them, or if they're actually working for the company, so employees. And then we also work with insurance companies and banks to help them risk rate their customers quickly and easily, all through an incredibly easy to use platform or incredibly easy to use API.
That sounds super impressive and like awesome, but also really kind of scary because you've got all this personal data.
Sure.
And it's all the things that people are really, concerned about. And so I have a question. How do you go to try and achieve a massive vision like you are, from going all the way to the back? Like, where did this come from? Like how do you go from idea to something where it's actually working, especially in a space that, is so, I would say, scrutinized heavily?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, it's easy to villainize the people data space, but compliance and transparency has always been a huge part of the company and what we believe in more than anything. I mean, consent is incredibly important in what we do, and the information that we're bringing to light or putting into a report is, in some cases we are revolutionary in that, but in a lot of cases, we're relaying credit information. We're doing criminal background checks, in a better, easier, and again, more transparent way than people have done in the past. It really is about making things easier and friendlier. If you're filling out one of our applications, whether that's for tenancy or for employment, you're going to find out really quickly that it's a lot friendlier than any other, background check provider or tenancy screening platform that you've used before. We try to keep it, again, transparent and friendly is the most important thing. But going back to where the company started and how we got started, the idea was hatched actually in a surf van on the way back from Tofino, where my business partner and I were in another company that we'd started, that was in the property management space, and we were bouncing around the ideas of a new company and a new idea, and that really brought us to risk rating our customers, because we were in the payment space, and that was one of the biggest hurdles was being able to verify our merchants and our customers quickly and easily. So, out of frustration and exhaustion from another venture, this one kind of got hatched. And the original idea was actually around, insurance and actually being able to insure 12-month leases for property management companies, with a screening portion to that. We went around, we pitched the idea, and we didn't get a ton of interest at that time on the insurance product, but the screening product, where we're doing a better job of bringing in these tenants, was incredibly popular. So we scrapped the insurance side and we went into the people data side of things and built a better way of screening tenants. We quickly partnered with a number of large software platforms in the space, including Yardi, and kind of the rest is history. We grew really quickly in the property management space, and we tend to partner with those other platforms that already have, a strong foothold in the marketplace and power either aspects of that screening or the entire screening process. So yeah, that's kind of the Coles notes of how we started.
So surf van and then working with Yardi, but
but we blinked and it happened like that.
Yeah, exactly. So on that, like, at what point when you're having these conversations, because as you said, your initial thought was insurance and going down that side, but it wasn't. You had to find it to resonate. Like talk through how you found that path, and then when you knew that you had something and you're like, okay, this is where we're going, and it's really starting to resonate.
Yeah, I mean, I know this is a a real estate side of things, but a real estate podcast. Um,
Real estate
but
tech.
real estate tech
Yeah.
podcast. But that like entrepreneur journey is always something that has to come into play when we talk about the start of this, because it was just a ton of pivots. And one thing that we're not good at everything. I'll be the first to admit that, but we are good as a founding team of pivoting and moving in the direction that we need to go. Being married to ideas until they don't make sense anymore, and then being able to switch and move in another direction. It's important to be fluid that way, and follow the opportunity, and not be too precious with your ideas. So that original idea changed into a screening product, that changed into a full platform, that changed into an API offering, where we're selling more through our partners' platforms than we are our own when it comes to the tenant screening side of things. So just understanding, maybe we did spend a ton of time on the actual platform, but then we found out quickly that we could actually sell a lot more, and we could make a bigger impact in the marketplace by going through API sales. So being an additional partnering with companies more than us actually creating the market or taking it over through our platform.
So I love this, because a lot of people will talk about staying true to your core vertical and your core market. But what, from an outsider's perspective, it appears to me as though, you nailed that property management core market, but then you very quickly went cross vertical, as we would call it, right? Expanding that total addressable market. Talk to me about that decision between saying, do we just stay focused in on the real estate side, or do we open up the API and we go across all these verticals? And was it the consumers asking you for that service, or were you guys saying, what, I'm pretty sure that this industry also needs this, and I'm pretty sure, and so let's have those conversations? I guess, was it a push? Was it a pull? Like, what did that look like for you guys?
Yeah, it was a bit of both, I guess. We always kind of had a feeling that it would make sense to do some of the things we were doing in tenancy for hiring. But we try not to do anything like that until basically we're asked to, or somebody very, very smarter than us is telling us to go in that direction. And it was one of our clients said, "Hey, listen, this is awesome. We love what we're doing with the tenants, but can we do this on our employees?" And, kind of just sat there and said, "Yeah, I think you probably could." The one thing that was missing, and we didn't have that offering in the property management space, was here in Canada at least, was the RCMP criminal background check. So we quickly built maybe not quickly, but we got to work quickly on building a better way of doing RCMP criminal background checks, and built that out for a property management client so they could screen their employees, and then quickly rolled that out to other verticals in the hiring space. When we first got that ask, Steve Cadigan, who's on our board, he's one of the he was the first head of talent at LinkedIn, had said, "Hey, you guys should get into this space. It hasn't been touched in a long time. There's a ton of innovation that could be brought to the table." And it doesn't take much more than a call from Steve to get things moving, because that guy's incredibly smart and he knows what he's talking about in the space, and a thought leader in HR. So I think we felt like we had enough of a case study there to at least give it a shot. And now we're definitely the fastest growing in background checks and employment, and without a doubt the most innovative.
So on that, where is your geography? Where do you operate?
Good question. We're in Canada, United States, Mexico, and then we can do background checks in over 100 other countries as well. So that area is, Australia is a big market for us, South America, Central America, the UK, but our largest market definitely is North America right now.
So you've gone from ideation, coming back from a trip out in Tofino, to now running this really emerging company. You've raised quite significant capital,
Mhm.
and you've been with it from start to now.
Yes.
What have been maybe one or two big surprises that you weren't anticipating along that journey? That now when you look back, you're like, yeah, okay, I'm not quite sure I would have foresaw that.
How about the biggest surprise? COVID.
Yeah.
Didn't really predict when we started the company, a global.
You mean you weren't gonna predict that? No.
No, I definitely did not. I hear Bill Gates did, but I was
Nobody
not
listened
there.
though.
Yeah, nobody listened, nobody cared. I passed over that warning. Yeah, it's been an unbelievable change for us to go from a company that predominantly was right here in Victoria, British Columbia, to a remote first company during a pandemic. Right before the pandemic, I think we had a team of maybe 20, 25 people, and now we're at 160. So growing that team at remote first in a pandemic has been an unbelievable challenge. And not going against a lot of, definitely the founder's skill sets, which tend to be that face-to-face communication skills. That's how I've grown up. That's how we've built businesses in the past. Rarely were people remote, and if they were, there was a lot of time set aside for group trips and what have you. And yeah, doing that where you're hiring most people without actually seeing them, or at least meeting them face to face and quote unquote shaking their hands. That is that I would say that's the biggest shock that we've had, I think, as an organization, and we've actually been recognized for this. Is we've done a really good job of making that change to remote first. Keeping communication lines up, building culture while having a workforce distributed absolutely everywhere. But again, this is still first time, so we're definitely still making mistakes, and there's tons of improvement to be made. But I think that's where I'd be most proud of is the changes that we made on that front, and kept a culture that people are really excited to work in.
So just to drill on that a little bit further, what does that look like for you when you say remote first? Like, do you have a physical office at all, or is it just it's everyone remote now, and that's that? Do you meet semi-frequently? Like, what does that look like? Because I think from the real estate community, a large degree
Mhm.
of individuals are starting to say, what are those implications for quote unquote, remote first? Like, how will that impact commercial space? How will that impact the homes as well? And we're going to jump back off this, but I'm just kind of curious from your specific example what that looks like for you as a corporation.
Sure. Well, I'm in the office right now,
Okay.
and there's probably 4 or 5 other people in the office, and we've got about 6,000 square feet of office space. So it's a lot of space for not a lot of people. We did get this office before the pandemic hit. Some days there's more people in here than others. We've got tight restrictions on how people can interact and what they do in the space, and mask mandates and what have you. But again, you're talking about 4 or 5 people. Most people are working out of their homes, and to keep that culture true and instill that properly, it does take a fair amount. Well, it takes a ton of communication, but also group meetings on a regular basis. So every Friday we have an hour, and it's called Spill the Beans, and it's on somebody in the organization. Basically, you get to ask as many questions as you want.
Love it.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. So you get to learn a lot about somebody in the organization that maybe you haven't met before, or you didn't know, or you have been working with that person. You learn a lot more than you did just working through the problems and opportunities in the organization that you normally would. So that's great. And then we also do kind of a State of the Union piece on that Friday as well, where update the team on numbers and other milestones, and whatever communication we feel needs to go out to the entire company. We try to do that in a manner where everybody is paying attention, everybody's on that call, and it's not just a group email that goes out. It tends to land a little better if it's actually being spoken to you.
When when you remove that in-person element, the ability for knowledge transfer via osmosis just is completely removed. And what we've seen and heard, it just seems as though you have to be so much more intentional on
Hmm.
breaking down those silos that aren't you're not creating them. They just sort of create themselves in the absence of having that dynamicism between your colleagues. And so I love the idea of the spill the beans. That's super cool. And so to take that forward, you've got this massive company now. You're in over 100, or you can do background checks in over 100 countries. You've got partners of 2,800 companies. What's next? Like where do you go from here?
Good question. Well, that global expansion is a big part of where we're headed next. The background checks that we can do in other countries are strong, great products, but there's always ways to improve. In our initial market, we again changed the way background checks were done in Canada, made them more efficient, and made a lot of the products that we sell a lot more efficient. And we can do that in other countries as well. Bringing that same innovation to some of our larger markets where maybe we're still doing things, the way that they were done before, but with a better UI and UX. But we can do it better on the back end as well. So that's a big focus for us is making sure those global checks are done as efficiently and as easy as possible. API sales is a big part of that. Continuing our partnerships, building those partnership, channels is a really big part of where we're headed. Property management is still a huge part of our business, and we love working in that space. We think that there's a ton more opportunity for property management software to take advantage of screening that's easier and more effective. Also being supported by an amazing customer success and service team. That's where we see things going. It's that global expansion is a huge part of what we're working towards.
I love it. And to build on that, like I'm curious if this has implications for things like FinTrack and things like ID verification on the purchase and sale. And the reason I ask that is, as people's comfort levels ebb and flow coming out of, again, the biggest thing that couldn't be foreseen being the pandemic. Have you participated in that space at all? Is that something that would be, applicable with Certn, where you could actually start to do certain things like that, where you can, start to verify these IDs fully remotely, from say the real estate perspective, where it's, in compliance and part of that?
Absolutely. That is actually an area that we're working in right now. When it comes to, the FinTrack side of things, banks are using our products to verify their customer base and risk rate them. So, one of our products is called One ID, and it's one of the ways that we've been able to revolutionize the background check space. But it is a standalone product on its own, where you're taking a picture of the front and the back of an ID card and a live photo. We're able to verify that that person is who they say they are. So that One ID product, and this is why I bring up that API sales side of things, is because our products are excellent in property management and HR, where you can use our dashboard and our platform. But the API, we can separate those products out and sell them directly to partners in other areas. So that reliable ID verification product is extremely capable in areas of FinTrack and in ID verification for purchase or tenancy, there's just so much need for ID verification. And one of the reasons why the company took off so much during COVID was these large retailers and employers across the country were suddenly stuck with, oh, I'm not going to meet this person. Our HR team is not going to meet this person face to face. We need to know who they are and if they are a risk to the organization, and do that in a reliable, quick manner.
Love it. Love it. So on that, what are you most excited for over the next 12 months?
Good question. Continued growth. The pipeline is looking incredibly strong. Deals continue to close, and it's kind of corny, but we don't want customers. We want raving fans. And we have unbelievable case studies and references from some of the largest companies in property management and HR. So the continued growth on the trajectory that we're on, while continuing to keep our new and existing customers incredibly happy and singing our praises. That's what I'm most excited about. The ID verification market is taking off. There's just so much opportunity, and as companies hire and property management companies expand into other geographic locations like the UK, like Australia, like South America, we can help all through one easy to use API.
I love it. I love it. And so, I'm going to take this full circle. So what advice would you give to somebody who listens to this and they're like, hey, I've got this idea, I've felt this pain, and I want to start something, but it seems like, that big, hairy, audacious goal, and I'm not sure. Like, what advice would you give? Because you've gone and you've tackled arguably one of the most challenging things that a lot of people would just say you can't do, right? So, given you've gone through this and where you're at, and you're still, we're still got so much room to grow. What advice would you give to potential budding entrepreneurs that are having that dialogue in their head?
Yeah, I would say entrepreneurship is probably not for everybody, but it's attainable. Don't be too precious with that idea. Ideas tend to be not as important as the execution and just a hard-headed ability to deliver. So be fluid with that idea. If you're finding that, hey, like this doesn't quite make sense and nobody really wants to buy that, they're probably going to want to buy something close to it. You're on the right track. You just might need to tweak it a little bit. So I think that's the biggest lesson is be ready to pivot and be ready to work really, really hard to make it a reality.
Love it. Love it. So for those people that want to learn more about Certn, what's the best way?
Good question. You can find me on LinkedIn, Evan Dalton. You can find us online, Certn, CERTN.co. That's probably the best way to get in touch with us. We've got a million different contact channels through there, including a live chat. So if you want to check it out, that's the best way to go, is our website.
Amazing, sir. Well, again, thanks again for coming on. I know you're a busy guy. All the best going forward, and look forward to seeing what's next with you guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike.